everyone. I'm Pearl and I'm very lucky today to be able to ask Lorna some really interesting and inspiring questions for you all. So one thing that's asked very often is about God. And there's so many different names for God, or what people consider God. It's not always necessarily the word God. It could be their higher power, or they could be from various different religions and have different names for God. But they believe in something that is bigger than themselves.
Well, the way I would answer that question is, they are believing in something that is bigger than themselves, and that's God. And we call God by so many different names. And in one sense, lots of us, were grasping onto that part of us, the spiritual part. And religion has played a huge part in that, but yet has damaged us all spiritually as well. That we are saying, well, I don't belong to any religion, or I don't believe in God, but I believe in something else that is bigger than myself, or bigger than the universe. But yet we're all referring to God. We call God by so many different names. As you said, Pearl, there, sometimes people will say, the higher power, or they will say, I'm calling on the universe, but you're calling on God spiritually, because it is the spiritual part of you that you want to let free. You want that soul, that spark of light that God has given you. You want it to step forward. You're clinging, in a sense, to finding out who you are.
So are you saying that, or do you feel that it's our human self that creates these divisions by even putting a name on things?
Yes, I think so, because there is so many divisions there between religion and those that would say they're only spiritual. And it's the human part that has put that there. But we've put it there because, in a sense, we're lost. And in a sense, we don't want to be ruled in that way. We want to believe freely in God. We want to believe that we do have a soul, and that there are angels there, and that our loved ones, when they die, they go to heaven, or to that special place in that way. So we're clinging on in a sense of, well, if I say, and I don't use the word God, or I don't use the word Lord, or I don't use the word Jesus, or I don't use the word Allah. There's so many names for God. Sometimes we just call on God and say, please help me. Spiritually we say that. But one thing I do love, and that is, I had, when I was writing the first book, Angels in My Hair, that was one thing that really kind of, pulled at me. And I said to God, what am I to call you? What am I to call you? Because even myself not being able to read or anything, and being isolated in one sense here in Ireland, and, not hearing much of the outside world, I already knew, because God and the angels had already told me, that there was such a big division in that way, that people were starting to rise up. And I just said to God, well, what will I call you? And just what surprised me was, God just said to me, Lorna, what do you call me? And I always remember being so surprised, and I said, God, of course, that way. Why are you asking me? You should be telling me. God, of course. And the thing is, God said, the word God is universal. It must have a deeper meaning to the word God than what we even realize. I think all of those words that we use for God, even when we're calling on the higher power, or we're calling on the universe, or we're calling on the light, whatever way we call, to grasp, spirituality, to look for that help spiritually that we want in our lives. It's all connected to God. It's, to me, that day was kind of, in a sense, blew my mind when God turned around and said, what do I call him? And God is neither male nor female.
I think people struggle with having blind faith. I've noticed myself, even a lot of people, they really want to have that divine experience, and nowadays the psychedelic kind of spiritual psychedelic craze maybe is starting, and it's that people are really searching to connect divinatively, but yet their ego maybe stands in the way, or their expectation of what it should be. So is there a way that we can create that connection, or how can we see God as over and above, and not come together, rather than we're creating all these divisions and my God's better than your God scenario.
Yeah.
Which is pointless if it's really the one God.
It is just the one God, and in all of what you've said there, Pearl, there's so many answers and so many questions in what you've said, and there is such a division, and people in the world today are, you use the word, and I know it means, taking something that will help to give them a vision, help them to believe in God, help them to believe in spirituality, help them to believe that they have a soul, and people are doing that because, in a sense, they're desperate to know that there's more to life, that there is a meaning and a purpose for their life. And the thing is, there is so many meanings and purpose to everyone's life, but you don't need to take, and I know lots of people will give out now when I say this, you don't need to take psychedelics. What, am I saying it properly? You don't need to. I think what has just happened is that, because I take nothing, never have, but I think it is that people, in a sense, feel that God should stand in front of them right now, this very second. And the thing is, God does, and the angels do the very same. But we think we can, in a sense, turn it on like a TV screen, and I see it instantly. But we don't give ourselves time. Even when people meditate, they don't allow their spiritual side, their soul, that spark of light of God, to come forward. We're, in a sense, putting our human self forward. We're not allowing the spiritual side, and yet we're desperate to allow it. So we're looking for evidence and we're looking for proof. So we're taking those psychedelics, and to me, you don't need. It's like long ago people had so many spiritual experiences all the time. A man or a woman could be crossing the mountain, could be going somewhere, but again, they were in nature. Again, they were one with everything around them. and they experience so much. And in a sense, we've lost that because we're rushing, and even taking psychedelics, we're rushing. We want it to happen right now. But if that helps people in any way, I can't say no, because that's their free will and their free choice, whether they want to or not. But I would say you don't need to whatsoever.
Like, I think there's a place for it in some ways, but I don't personally think it's for an everyday person to be doing. But
yeah, exactly.
Is it like more that we have a fear that if we don't have this divine connection, like that when we die, there mightn't be anything, like, or is it that we're that conditioned to having, like, especially in Western society, like, if you want something, generally you can get it.
Yeah, you can
Like,
go into the supermarket
yeah,
and buy
or you
it, or
can-
the big store.
So is that a bit of it, that a lot of us fear having blind faith? Like, we fear that if I don't have something, if I don't see something, or if I don't physically feel something, that it's not there.
But the thing is, it is, and I would say to you, don't have blind faith.
Don't or do?
See, I'm dyslexic, so the do and the don't quite go together for me.
So when I say blind faith for myself is, I believe in God. I always have.
Yeah.
I don't need to have experiences to believe.
Yes.
So to me, I have blind
faith. And I think if everyone had blind faith, I think it would be much easier for us. But there's millions of people out there that don't. But even there is some that have blind faith but doubt. And in a sense, they have blind faith, but they want that proof, that experience. And yes, that proof and that experience is being given to us every single day. Like, sometimes I'm kind of, I don't understand why people don't realize that. Like, we're sitting here. We're human beings. We're two women, and we have a soul, and I can see your guardian angel there with you, and
But that's
all the
because
thing,
you can see that.
I know.
So for other people,
But
that's not the same, because they can't
see. But I know everyone will be able to see. But we kind of have to take that next step. And I think that's what's happening in the world today. That's why people are taking psychedelics, because they want to take that next step. But I would say to you, how can I say, have that blind faith and don't doubt. And every step you take, know that it's your human body, your human self, and your human mind that's taking that step. But your soul is taking that step with you. If you can put in your mind, in a sense, well, maybe I could, if I say it this way, I know people will give out, but if you could say this spiritual being is the image and the copy of you, and if you can, within your mind, your human self, every movement you make is not just a human movement. You have to allow your soul to move with your human body, and allow it to step forward, so that we don't have that. At the moment we have this, what would you say, separateness, or division, and we are striving so hard to bring it together, but it's like we are in a rush, but we're tripping over ourselves. And I just one thing especially for myself, and I guess I would just remind everyone, and that is, God taught me everything out in nature. He didn't teach me, in a classroom. It was in my everyday life, every step I take. I remember, walking with Archangel Michael one day, and he just saying to me, I don't know what age I was. I was always out roaming in the fields or something like that, or crossing a stream, and he told me to look down at my feet. And I looked down at my feet, and I remember smiling and laughing. I'm even smiling and laughing now, but I could see my soul's foot, because it was having the image of my human body and it moving with me. And I thought this was so funny that I had said to the Archangel Michael, well, can my soul foot, I put it in a funny way to him, hurt, because sometimes maybe a little stick would scrape off my ankle, because we didn't wear trousers then, we were always in little dresses. And I always remember Archangel Michael, laughing at me and saying, no, Lorna, your soul can feel no pain. And I thought that was lovely, but we just need to make that connection, to say to ourselves, to have that blind faith, not to doubt that I'm not just a human being, I'm a spiritual being. I'm both, and allow the intertwining to happen. And keep on going in search, but I think, in your everyday life, if you could be conscious of it, say to yourself or remind yourself every day as often as you can, I'm not just a human being drinking this cup of tea. My soul has lifted up this cup of tea with me, even though the liquid is going into my human body. But my soul is helping me doing this. It's doing everything I do as well. I know I could say loads more, but I don't know what
that's a good
questions.
For a lot of people. So I know it's made me think of different things and some stuff in a different way as well. So I'm grateful for that, and I'd say our audience is very grateful as well. So I'm sure we'll come back to this subject again. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Pearl, for all your lovely questions, and I love to say thank you to you all, and just remind you that I love you all. You are loved. If you ever say no one loves you, I love you, and I send you all my prayers, my love, and my blessings. So thank you. Bye bye.